This is a note to filmmakers, but also just like anybody who's holding up a franchise or a series. There's a difference between innovation and throwing everything into the pot to try to make something as complex and different as you can by just making things super convoluted.
So let's finish this.
Guys?
And today we have Scream 6, which is weird because the previous Scream wasn't called Scream 5, it was just called Scream. Like, this bugs the shit out of me. You have literally Scream 1, 2, and 3, and then you have Scream 4, right? And then after that, you just have Scream, as if to insinuate that it's a reboot, which it's not. Like, it takes place involving a lot of the first film's lore, but like, it's Scream 5, but they don't call it Scream 5. But now you have Scream 6. It bugs the piss out of me. Personal gripes aside, don't get me wrong, I didn't hate this film. I just have grievances, that's it. But Scream 6 came out this year, 2023. It is the continuation of the ongoing Scream series. I'm a fan of Scream. I like what they're about. I like the older ones better, be one of those guys, but the first one's probably my favorite, but 2 is still really good. I mean, they all have redeeming qualities to them, and they at least stay up to date with the times, more or less. Nowadays, I know what I'm getting into, especially when it came to the last Scream, Scream 5 and all this. You're in there to watch a horror slasher with some faces that are current in the modern horror world, plus some returning classics, faces you've seen that may or may not be on the chopping block, and you're just going to see potentially creative slasher kills, very, very dark comedy a la Ghostface taunting you on the phone, and what was one of my favorite parts about it, meta commentary on the ever-evolving and changing state of horror and cinema. The good news is Scream 6 is directed by Matt Bettinelli-Olpin, I think is how you say it. He directed the previous installment, Scream 5, as well as films that I like a lot, like Ready or Not. I mentioned this in my Scream 5 review. I'm just going to call it Scream 5. I mentioned this in my Scream 5 review. He directed Ready or Not. That film has grown on me a lot, and I love, Margot Weaving? What's her name? The daughter of Hugo Weaving, the one who looks a lot like Margot Robbie. She was in Ready or Not. I like her a lot. Star power, it's funny because we have Melissa Barrera as she's the lead. Arguably, she's the lead, but she's very much upstaged by the now insanely famous Jenna Ortega, who, of course I love Jenna Ortega. She's great. I think she's a good old modern day Scream queen, and when she wasn't as nearly as popular when she was in Scream 5, but now she's very big popular thanks to stuff like Wednesday and other things that she's been in that people are starting to come around to. So good on her. I just thought it was funny because she might as well be the lead. She's a primary source of the marketing. She was the one on Hot Ones, not Melissa. And I did mention this is like Cameo City. There's a lot of different cameos in here, from legacy characters to, as I said, Miss Weaving herself for the cold open. I'm not as mad at this film as I would have been if it was any other horror film. I would have been so much more upset if this was any other horror film, but I know what I'm getting into. The Scream series is purposefully supposed to be campy and fun. I can change my mindset going into a film if I had the expectation of, oh, this is going to be horror slasher, but not like, let's take it super seriously horror. This is going to be, is it going to be dumb and silly sometimes? Is it going to be characters making weird choices? Yeah, so it's going to be campy and fun and admittedly violent. I mean, not violent the way that I would like it to be, but there's, I mean, they don't shy away from people getting stabbed or like low-key gutted or, a knife in a face here and there. Like that's violence I want to see. I want horror movies to make me squirm. It takes a lot to do that. I don't like generic, just stab, strangle. I want to see what creative kills horror and slasher films can do that'll make me scared again. It's a hallmark of the Scream franchise is to be self-aware. They get very meta. I even mentioned in my previous review, I think the thumbnail was called, like, go see it for the meta commentary. The meta commentary in this wasn't as good as it was in Scream 5 or even previous Screams, but there is some meta commentary, some commentary on the state of the horror genre in films, and some of it's like they're decent call outs and it's pretty spot on, but at the same time this film also falls into those tropes. It's one of those films that basically is like, oh, well, you know, we're not that thing because we're recognizing that parts of our film or what we're doing is that thing. So because we're acknowledging it doesn't mean that we're the same. And it's like,
yes, but actually no.
But I gotta give them credit. Like, things get wild in this film in terms of who's the who, in terms of like killer, killers, who's alive, who's dead. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but I mean, it's one of those films where I can't, it's not like a murder mystery. I can't just, you know, oh, it's probably this person based on that. Like, you probably won't guess. You'll probably be half correcting your guess, but they really play around with the rules, and I guess to their credit, you know what? You gotta give them credit for constantly trying to change up the formula. I can't call this innovation because I didn't see anything innovative in this film, but they are trying to keep up with the times, make things twisty, turny, change it up, keep you guessing. That's good on you for trying. I think the main problems I have with this film is this plays like an above average melodrama. I mean, the core cast, you have one or two standouts like Jenna Ortega, like the leading lady, who play their roles well. They're solid. They just, you know, they're believable. You know, sympathize, empathize to an extent. That's all fine. Like, there's some actors in this film that are just, you know, like Hayden Panettiere, or how you say her name, like, they're just acting. That's fine. Then you have casts that are also main characters or supplementary that are a bit melodramatic. Just their performances are just like not over the top. Well, there's one guy, a couple people that get a little bit over the top, but almost soap opera-y, but just kind of like almost caricatures of themselves, a little bit too zany. I don't know, man. It's hard. It's a little bit hard to put into words, but you watch the movie, you get what I mean. It only works because this franchise is known for being campy and being, like, you know, deadly, but not too serious. So it's fine, but I think that sometimes it's just like, alright, come on, like, do people really act like that? And I gotta admit, sometimes the camp is a bit much. It mostly comes down to lack of logic in films like this sometimes. Like, one of the biggest pet peeves of mine, especially in horror, is when people can get scared, they got the adrenaline going, they might make small little mistakes, but in a franchise, especially if you're going to be in a franchise that is self-aware about its history and how, oh, these killers always emulate horror, so maybe we shouldn't play into the fucking tropes of horror. But no, let's not double tap. You know, the amount of times that I see somebody knock Ghostface down and then just run away instead of taking the item they just hit him with and getting on top of them and just start whacking them over the head or beating them to a pulp. Like, you're in survival situation. I don't know about you, but if I was being attacked and the perpetrator and it's life or death and this person clearly could, like, kill me, if I somehow am able to knock them down, I'm going to do whatever I can to ensure they don't get back up. And nobody does it in this film. Correction. People do it in this film, and the few times they do it, it's this little song and dance where it's like, I knocked the killer down, here comes the final blow, and then Ghostface is like, and just sticks him, and then it happens several times. Like, it's amazing. They don't kick the weapon away first, they don't try to, like, get a ranged weapon or try to, like, find I think the third time that it happened, which literally it happened at least 3 times in this film, killer gets knocked down. All right, I'm gonna take care of this once and for all, and then he's just like, stab. I think out loud, I couldn't control myself as the words went past my lips. Out loud, I yelled, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, it was so stupid. Out loud, I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I did it, and I was like, oh shit. Like, I just thought it was quite silly. But the thing that we love to see in horror is when your main characters are capable and are resourceful and smart. A movie like, You're Next? That's a great example. Just one example. But people being practical and doing what they can to, like, oh, not just incapacitate, but, like, fucking kill this person because they're trying to kill us. Or let's move quickly across this ladder between 2 buildings. Or let's try to, go over here or call the, I don't know. You would just think that they would actually adhere to horror movie logic, survival situations, and they don't, and it's very immersion breaking for me. As I alluded to before, the kills for me a little bit too simple. I know that Ghostface is supposed to be like, I have a knife, stab, slice you open and whatnot, but again, innovation, creative kills. There are, if I recall correctly, there are 2 creative kills in this film, one of which is basically the result of blunt force trauma, and the other one which is just like a knife through the face, because those are always like, ugh, like, see which one about Halloween Kills. I hated that film, but there's one rough kill where like a guy in the back seat of the car gets like a kitchen knife, and when the guy stabs it, he catches him up through the eye socket, and I'm like, oh, like just the thought of that's good. And this one, a guy is like gonna answer the door, and a fucking knife comes through and like just right in the fucking, like in the cheek, through the fucking face. That type of shit is good stuff. But when the rest of them are just like stab, cacophony of stabs, here's a little, I'm gonna throat slit here, I'm gonna half gut you, you're gonna find a dead body later. And shit's boring, man. Like, you want to innovate and make, like, you can do more besides people getting shot or stabbed 20 times. Like, I don't know. There's other horror franchises that I've been watching, other horror movies that I've seen this year that have had creative or like brutal, rough kills. It's not that hard, and if you want to pride yourself in being a franchise that innovates, then fucking innovate. I hesitate to use the word nostalgia bait because, again, this film is like, hey, we recognize what we're doing. We're bringing back casting characters that people like, and then oh, are they safe, aren't they safe, what breaks the convention, does it stay true to the convention, who will die, oh, that person's face, this person, we're bringing back Gale again, oh, there's the last film, it was Dewey. Oftentimes I don't mind nostalgia bait. It's why I liked Ghostbusters Afterlife. I like a lot of these legacy horror films. I love Jamie Lee Curtis, so the fact that she's one of the main, like the main character for that new Halloween trilogy, a complaint can be made about nostalgia bait in this, but it's not as big of a complaint. It's just like, okay, well, you say you're doing it, and then you're doing it, and then acknowledging it is a problem, but I don't know. Look, end of the day, I had fun with Scream 6. I might have actually liked Scream 5 better. I think I'm gonna end up giving this one a slightly lower rating, but I had similar complaints about Scream 5, but I think I actually preferred Scream 5. I prefer Scream 5's climax a hell of a lot more than Scream 6, but the ride in this is campy, it's fun, it's violent, it's dumb in spaces. They're trying to innovate by changing it up, playing around with the rules, getting wild and loose, but sometimes I feel like in this film, things get so wild and loose that it starts to lose its core franchise theme, and the film suffers from it. But I'd say end of the day, Scream 6 is like, it's like a high 3 out of 5. It's a high 3 out of 5. It's still above average as far as films go. I think it mostly accomplishes what it sets out to do, and I really hope that they can like take feedback that they've been receiving, which I think they do, and make Scream 7 the inevitable Scream 7, because these gross money, they're gonna keep making them, and Jenna Ortega's still alive, so cool. Spoilers. But I think there's going to be a Scream 7, and you know what? I'll be there opening weekend. I'll be there button seat for all the Scream movies to come, because I love horror. I love to support horror, and like any film that can try to keep the horror slasher genre alive, like that's fine by me. Still go see it in theater? Sure, why not? Like it was a decent time in theater. I don't want to see it again in theater, but I will revisit it on a Scream marathon whenever 7 comes around. That's all I gotta say about Scream 6. Thank you guys and gals so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode of whatever movie I review. And goodbye, travelers.